Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show that's sponsored by the Unique Voices in Films and the Path of Consciousness. I have an incredible guest with me today, Satori Shakoor. Hello, Satori.
Hi, Leah.
So, I'm just going to tell you about a little bit about her incredible bio. Satori is a visionary storyteller, multidisciplinary artist, and social entrepreneur whose documentary, Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale, offers a compelling glimpse into her life's journey, blending humor, vulnerability, and insight. A 2017 Kresge Literary Arts Fellow, her career spans from recording artist to becoming an actor, comedian, television writer, and acclaimed storyteller. Satori is the executive producer of the award winning platform, The Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. She has dedicated her career to connecting humanity and transforming communities through the art of storytelling. Now, I had a firsthand experience of that, Satori, because as a Kresge fellow, I was I had the honor, the privilege of working with you to tell my story, and then which I shared during Women's History Month at the Charles Wright Museum. So during that time, I was so impressed with you. Like, I have to interview you about your career and your life. Then your film came out.
Mhm.
And I know it came out a little bit, not, I mean, I didn't get to see it until about 2 weeks ago. And I got to tell you, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to interview her right away and talk
Uh-huh.
about this, which is, by the way, the documentary is available on Amazon Prime. We'll talk about this. Well, basically, my first question does evolve around this is your documentary Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale is an incredibly personal and powerful. What motivated you to share such a vulnerable part of your life with the world?
Well, actually, the film, although I didn't think of it at the time in film form, but it was a promise I made to my younger self. Are you still there, Leanne?
Yes, I'm just putting the attention on you.
Okay, all right. So, okay, thank you. So, it was a promise to my younger 45-year-old self when I began to experience symptoms of perimenopause. Although I didn't know that they were connected to perimenopause, if I knew anything about perimenopause or menopause at all. But palpitating heart, hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, um, insomnia, brain fog, heavy periods, just really not recognizing myself. Um, And so I asked my mother, who said she couldn't remember. I asked older women who swore they were too young to know, which I think it was just at the time they didn't want to age themselves. And then women who flat out said they refused to go through it. So I was kind of left in the dark on my own. I did join the cast of Menopausal Musical, but I still didn't learn that much about it except the symptoms. I didn't know any of the remedies. And although if there were remedies, I wasn't willing to take them because I wanted to go through it so that I could have a really clear experience. So when I wrote about it, it would be present. Now, my film is a stand up storytelling concert. So it employs my skills as a stand up comedian, storyteller, and singer, and just narrative in that way. Just a creative
I I
offering.
found it fascinating. I don't remember. I don't recall seeing. That's why so this is what it's called. I called it a documentary, I mean, because it's a true story about yourself. But the way it was um, performed and the way it was delivered, it was able to keep the attention and the suspense throughout. And I remember when I was working with you, even though I think ours was like 10-15 minutes, but you really knew how to help us arrange the story in a way so that the audience can stay engaged. And you did that beautifully, by the way. Um, really it was something different. As a filmmaker myself, I mean, we always feel like we have to rely so much on outside footage and images and interviews, and you didn't rely on any of that. So aside from your compelling story, I think like the artistic aspect of what I viewed was very interesting. So
Mhm.
storytelling is at the heart of your work. How has storytelling shaped your personal healing and the way you connect with others?
Profoundly. I come from a long line of storytellers. They're old black women from Alabama, Mississippi, Jim Crow South, and that was their language. That's how they communicated. So that's how I learned to speak it too. But it was just normal, like breathing. So I didn't know that it was an art form. I didn't know anything about that. I know I love stories and I love listening to stories. And it seemed that people love listening to me tell stories. Um, but it wasn't until 2010, 2011 that I recognized, oh, this is an art form through the Moth. When I told the story of my grief and loss of losing my mother and son, and finding a path to healing just by sharing my story. And then I found my purpose and calling in it and conceived the idea of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, because at the same time I was coming back from this dead space of grief and loss. So was Detroit. So I wondered my way into the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. If storytelling could begin to heal me, could it heal the city of Detroit and its citizens? And so, without any money, living in the basement of a friend's home, I just sold tickets in advance, sold out 45 seats, and the standing ovation they gave to those four storytellers propelled me forward. And every month we would sell out and have to move to a different venue because we were at capacity. And then we finally, in 2013, moved to the Wright Museum and was there for until COVID. And I remember refunding all 317 tickets manually. We sold out because it was, we couldn't meet in person. And then we went online for a couple of years and then to Marygrove. And now we're back at the Wright Museum. So I know that storytelling heals from my own personal journey, but over the last 14 years, having worked with every storyteller who takes the stage, I know that they have healed as well or have become clearer about things about their past. Oh, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Oh, that brings up this memory. And they were able to, come to terms with things in their lives. They were able to see their stories because a lot of times we go along with the stories that our 10-year-old selves told, our 6-year-old story, even in our 20s, we tell ourselves stories and they become the truth. And then we're still dragging those truths around or those stories around. And so we have to re-examine at different stages in our lives. Do we still think that way? Do we still feel that way? Do we still Are we still angry at that person? Because if we've grown, has our perspective, and so has the way that we look back on our past and see the stories that we told. Because what I saw through the lens as a 10-year-old is not the way that I see as a grown, mature adult. There are things I understand being an adult that I didn't understand when I was a child. There's forgiveness that I can extend because I didn't know how to forgive, because I didn't have the experience to understand. So storytelling is very healing when shared with one or more people to an audience. It's a form of self-acceptance in public, but it's a way to unload this baggage that we tend to carry around and these heavy weights that we tend to carry around unnecessarily. And we continue to bump up against those same upsets that we're causing ourselves. So once we can understand that these upsets are what we're causing, we can then be responsible for them and then come to terms.
Yes, and then move into a different story. I mean, the power of acknowledging something that lives within us to releasing it is so essential in order to move on. And I
Yeah.
remember when we were at the Charles Wright Museum, I'll never forget when you went on stage to introduce us and to talk about the um, platform and the storytelling. And you said that the audience had a very important and active role,
Yes.
and that was to listen.
Yes.
So people misunderstand listening. Real listening is really an art form in itself. A lot of people are busy, they think they're listening, but they're really waiting for them to start talking, that for you to finish to start. So what moved me so much, what surprised me is when I was up there was the audience, because I had a very like emotional situation, and then later I was with one of my cousins, Natalia, and I remember when we were driving home, I said, the reason that happened, she said, it felt like just something overtook you, and I said, it was the love that was there, and I think people who really truly listen, that's what comes outside. You can feel the love for them to be that patient and listening to you. So that was also very profound for me to understand that I know that storytelling is healing in all these aspects, but the listening part as an audience, I was very impressed by them. I It made a big difference, and I ended up writing a post about it because it was so memorable, and I wanted to give them credit. You could their activity in that was very important. And then the other thing I want to talk about is your mother and your son. Watching the documentary, I was so moved by them. I got chills because the part about your son just like it broke my heart. I felt like, oh my God, I was gonna just kind of scream the way you were saying how you reacted to it. Was very, very hard to see. So I thought, my goodness, this woman has gone through so much, so much. And I was
And that's
recently,
another reason I wanted to tell my story,
yes.
because as women, we're socialized to not talk about certain things. Certain things are taboo, like postpartum depression, which is part of my story, uh, um, menopause, perimenopause, things that are natural, that occur in the hormonal and life journey of a woman. And we are socialized to be perky, juicy, and pump out babies. And once that part of our lives stops, then we are burdened by being forever 39 and and performing for the system of male for patriarchy, which I believe limits both men and women in their full expression in life. You have to deny parts of yourself, important parts of yourself, experiences, emotions, uh, just to be, just to have a certain faux workability in society. So I wanted to, once I started to go into my story about menopause, I realized this was a bigger story. And it's the story about women not talking, about being silent about what it is to be a woman. And it starts with maybe our periods and the shaming that goes with that, and then the shaming that goes with this, and the shaming that goes on all through our lives. And then we buy into the shaming by masking it rather than talking to other mothers and sharing our experience. Because I mean, to not bond with your child, you don't know, you think that's you don't know that it's a hormonal, a psychosis. You don't know that there's, you don't know these things. So I realized by wanting to tell my story in the attempt to get women talking, that it's particularly because the greater, the largest demographic in the United States are women in some stage of menopause. The largest demographic are women in some stage of menopause. And if we're not talking, we are really doing ourselves a disservice, because imagine the community that the largest demographic in the United States is, or half of the world is, and the kind of responsibility and support we could get from our families, our spouses, our significant others, our children, co-workers, employees, employers. And so that's why I'm very excited to be part of the Michigan Women's Commission and ARP and the Governor Whitmer, because next week, this week actually, on the 16th, they're doing the ARP and the Women's Commission is doing a red carpet screening of my film. And then they'll have a panel of doctors. And
Oh my goodness. Oh, congratulations.
thank you.
Amazing. Well
Thank
deserved. Honestly,
you.
everybody's gonna really enjoy it watching it. Well deserved. As it should be honored in that way. Everything that you're saying, I think this is why you were so connecting and are able. I watched you with the other women because we were meeting as groups as well. And I was watching you work and listen with each person. And I thought, what a healer that what you were doing. And you're right. And it comes from you understanding the pattern, right? Is it like it seems like in society it's a pattern, and we are breaking that pattern, correct? It's through women such as yourself and many other women who are doing that.
Oh, well, the governor and the Michigan Women's Commission are going across Michigan with an initiative to educate women and to inspire and encourage doctors to become certified in menopause, because doctors only get an hour of training in menopause. And so women are being misdiagnosed, they're being ignored, they're being told, oh, it's nothing. And it's really something. There's no health insurance. So this initiative is showing a great leadership on the part of the governor, the Michigan Women's Commission, and and hopefully to inspire other states to do the same thing. Halle Berry is the perfect face of menopause. She's beautiful, she's youthful, and she's a woman of a certain age. And if she can say, I'm menopausal and I'm still producing this, that, my life is full, because on the other side, I can attest that there's freedom, there's power, there's an unimaginable future that we all can create and that women can create. Our lives have just begun, really, because we have taken off the chains of having to be grandmothers with glasses on our nose. We have other futures to do. We may run for president. We may become CEOs. We may head a nonprofit. We may be youth. We may be people raising children. We have a very important and vital role in society, and to take ourselves out of it because there's a narrative or there's some kind of box we're put in at a certain age is kind of ridiculous.
And it does help when you see women on that path. So, for instance, when I'm watching the documentary, there was something that really touched me that you said, um, which I believe it was earlier on when you said, I don't want to be a secretary. I wanted to be a writer and an actress. And then later on, so you went to Hawaii, you said with $200 in your pocket to try to make your dream come true. What? So later I was thinking, okay, where's this gonna head? How did she achieve what she's trying to
I
do?
went to Hawaii to escape the pain of postpartum and to give
Oh,
up and to give up art and all of that. So the first thing I
ah,
did when I got to Hawaii was
okay.
camp as a Kelly girl, because it was the only way I knew how to make money. And
Make
eventually
money.
I did, I did, it took years before I could actually become free enough and unafraid enough to just leap out there with my dream.
Well, there
And I,
was a part in there where you said um, you were trying to look for jobs, but inwardly thinking you don't want to be
that
accepted.
was after, that was after Wall Street crashed because
That was
I had supported myself for 12 years as an actor through the arts. And then when I came back to Detroit, Wall Street crashed. Um, it was like you need a job, but there were no jobs, and I didn't want a job. I wanted to do what I loved to do for the rest of my life. So I vowed that that's what I would do, and I just I powered through and only did what I loved to do, and it was like a miracle. The things that would happen on that side of a choice, because when you're afraid, you keep choosing your fear, and you can still be afraid, but when you jump on the other side, I'm going to do what I love for the rest of my life. Life shifts to afford you opportunities to do just that. Like life will give you what you stand for. So if you are afraid, then it's going to give you opportunities to be afraid. It's going to give you more of what you were afraid of. But if you leap out there and you stand for a life you love, then life will give you choices um, of doing what you love.
okay. This is an
Meaning,
incredible word of wisdom for people, especially like artists, like people in the film industry, writers, because there's a fear, and there's a mentality like the starving artist mentality that is really just a myth too, because it doesn't have to be that way. There's been a lot of people who make their living off of their work. So speaking to somebody new in this area, what advice would you give them? You made that decision later on. Obviously, you had already worked and you had already funded for yourself. So, what advice would you give people or artists that feel like they don't maybe pursue this? Like I know in my community, like in the Middle Eastern community, we're always encouraged to go after certain careers, that we know are going to pay well. And I know this is in most societies, anyways, but it's really prevalent um, in the Middle Eastern community because the creative side is more like it's a newer aspect for us as a career. So for me, that was such a struggle to choose this as a full time. It just felt like I'm trying to fight something just to prove it, even though and juggling different jobs. And thank God, like that worked out for me and all this. But what advice would somebody? Because when I heard you say that towards the end, I don't know, something I was cheering for you. I'm like, yes, this is doable and this could happen. And everything you just said now, you're right. Like the universe somehow shifts its way towards your decisions after you have that kind of confidence. But of course, anyways, in other careers, this happens too, but there's doubt and all that. What advice would you give people that are trying to navigate the creative careers?
well, number one, there are going to be people who want to discourage you from a certain path. And they're not haters. They may be your own family members who love you. And the only vision they have is for you to have a happy life. But the only vision that they have of you achieving it is these narrow pathways. And they may have had negative experiences themselves. So they may tend to project their fears and onto you. So you have to keep yourself clean of other people's expectations and projections and follow your heart. And the sooner you do it, the better, because you're not going to have a mortgage, you're not going to have rent, car, all of the trappings that keep you believing you're locked into having to work a job to pay off your debts. Um, because I realize I'm going to always have a bill. I'm going to have, if I quit my job right now, or if I don't quit my job, I'm still going to have these bills to pay. But when I quit my job, I did not know that the temp service had this fund that they gave to the temps. And I, I so there was $2,000 that I had to begin. And then I had to trust my own talent, and I had to um, create my own opportunities. I mean, I just didn't sit around and wait for an audition to come to me or this and that. I had to create opportunities for myself. And so I became an entrepreneur in that way. I
Well,
mean,
where
the
does
thing,
that come from, Satori? Like the way you're talking right now, um,
it
it
comes from
seems
realizing you have one life to live. And who are you going to live that life in the service of? And once you've become happy in what you're doing and you've become fulfilled, it overflows like that saying, your cup runneth over. And when your cup is running over, you want to give it to other people. And then you realize, oh, I'm here to serve. I'm that's my purpose, is to serve other people through the gifts, the talents, the skills that I've developed. That is to be invested in the service of others so that they too can go out and fulfill their lives, so that their cups can runneth over, so that they can invest in their communities, in others, and then it becomes a different world.
I love that. And I think the blessings increase as well when there is a service aspect towards it, because what you are doing to others, you are doing unto yourself, I believe.
Yes.
So, yes. So we have about 2.5 minutes left. I would really like for our audience, for people to know how can they connect with you. We mentioned the documentary can be viewed on Amazon Prime. It's available. But what other ways? What's coming upcoming events? How can they learn more about you?
Apple TV Plus and Google Play. You can go to my website,
Okay.
satorishakoor.com, and it'll take you around my world. And I produce on a monthly basis, except for January, July, and August, the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers at the Wright Museum. So we're having an event Friday. The theme is Red Flags. We have 4 new storytellers and 2 new performing artists. And come on over and become someone that's being of service by listening to the storytellers and engaging yourself with others in community. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful experience, I have to say. I think whether you're, because I was obviously
You
also
are
listening to,
wonderful. You are so wonderful.
thank you. I love
All,
you. You're
all of you,
amazing.
all
They
of
were all,
you.
and I got the enjoyment of being an audience and also telling my story. So when I was sitting listening to them, and I'm telling you, the energy in that room, like me and the relative that came with me, Natalie, we were just so touched. We were really touched. So I really encouraged, and these are our people, this is our community that's sharing this. Then you end up seeing, wow, this person went through this, and that person wrote a book about it I didn't know, and that person, and then it kind of brings you down to earth more. Sometimes we have these ideas and whatever about our communities, but we don't know until we really connect and listen to the person's story, who they are. So
Absolutely.
thank you for doing all that you do. I know you and I will be reconnecting, and I'm
Yes,
so grateful and honored that we have even connected. Thank you for
yes.
all that you've done for me. God bless you. I know your film is just going to continue, and they should make a film about it. They should continue to the next level. It's not done yet.
I love
Thank,
you. I love you.
thank, thank you, Satori. Until we connect again. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
day. Bye
You
bye.
too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.